Okay, hi Reese, would you like to tell us about what you did in this project?
We wrote books over the course of 2 years, which were imaginative and all had different ideas.
Would you like to tell us about the book you wrote?
My book was called The Pole, the Pistol and the Police. It was set in London about 2010 when the riots.
Okay, the book that I wrote about was about a boy called Luke. He lives in Surrey and he goes down a mine, and one day he finds a ring.
It was based on this credit card which belonged to an intelligence service, which contained, it opened up like a secret lock.
And he takes the ring home and he discovers that it has secret powers.
I wrote about a zoo in Sydney where there were riots going on and how a group of kids got a phone and yeah.
And then he goes off with his friends to his grandma's house because he hasn't seen her in ages. He thought it'd be nice to see her. And suddenly a giant beast comes from the sky and tries to kill them. And the story keeps going along like this because the ring, it has the powers to summon creatures in order to kill them.
Okay, so that sounds quite slightly Harry Potter-esque, slightly Lord of the Rings-esque.
It's a fictional story.
Yeah. These are very hard.
I propose that Nicky is the most important character in the book. He molds everyone together in one family and holds the gang up. Yes, Sam, Rudy, Chas and Fatty Hardy each have a role to play, but without Nicky, would it be the machine gunners? After all, Fatty Hardy's the unnecessary, unqualified policeman who has no significant role. They already have 2 enemies. They don't need a 3rd. These kids are the closest thing Nicky's got to family. His mother, father and house were victims of the war, and Nicky is heartbroken.
Yet, with all this, he did sacrifice his garden for Fort Caporetto. His boat was lended to Rudy. He brought the family together and has had a hard life, from being bullied to saying to a policeman, "Get stuffed." Clogger wouldn't have to stay in the Fort Caporetto if Nicky wasn't there. And after all, Chaz can only bite off more than he can chew. And I ask you this question: what does he actually do?
And Nicky turns Rudy into a major character by making him a fatherly figure as he makes Rudy come back after he sails away on the boat. If he didn't give his boat, then the machine gun wouldn't have been fixed, Rudy wouldn't have been shot, and there would be no end dilemma. As they go through the police roadblock, calling him his deaf and dumb dad, then as Rudy leaves, he says, and I quote, "I wish you were my dad. Can't I come with you?" Joining them together and growing the most, turning Rudy to "get stuff" on the last line, making him the most important character.
It opened with a rhetorical question. It's such a successful technique of persuading people from the beginning. Lots of humour in there. I love the way they make use of the three of them. So they used it obviously to sort of add weight to points, but then to interact between, ask questions between each other, reinforce a point that someone else made, which was brilliant. I like the if, what if, again that was sort of partly repetition, but also a sort of really makes you think about, well, what this character contributes and how flat or how interesting the book would have been without them in it. So for many, many reasons, I thought the pace of it and the way that they actually spoke as well was really effective. So, brilliant.
Okay, we used the quote effectively, and we'll go back and have a look at that in the book now. Okay, Ray, go on.
Do you think that Rudy was a better dad than Nicky's actual dad was?
It doesn't say much about Nicky's dad. You can't exactly compare them.
True.
Yeah, go on.
Are you glad that you chose Nicky as your character because of his sadness makes it slightly easier to tell the story?
I'm pretty sure his dad ditched him.
Well, yeah, but it's still family, isn't it? It's still.
It's better than Nicky.
Yeah.
Chaz would have found. They would have found the gun anyway if Fatty Hardy hadn't chased Chaz. But don't you think that Chaz being chased by Fatty Hardy moves the story and it gets it going a lot quicker?
No, really, no. Well, he would have because he was going into the woods anyway. Fatty Hardy was just there to add emphasis. The story could have done without it. It wasn't desperate.
Here we are, full action. It's Stanwell. All the pupils helping our pupils.
It does make sense.
It's quite clear.
She needs something. Punctuation errors, and it was really hard, but we spotted a few.
Good for them. Right, first of all, year 8s. Any comments on the year 6 work? Things that you liked? Okay, things that you liked or what you saw that impressed you about Henry? about what they've done, okay? Anything that you've seen that particularly impressed? Yes? Setting. I think they do that really well. I think some of them we've worked on people, we called it people and places. That's how we do it. People and places, describing a setting and trying to make it less obvious as well. I think that's something we've worked out. I think we do dialogue well. Yeah? People and places we've worked hard at. Yes? Very good describing words. Yes, I think we've worked hard at our vocabulary. We know 94 different ways of saying the word said now, which we've worked, really hard at, and I think that's paid dividends, yeah? It's a good comment.
Instead of saying, after a speech, instead of saying at, they put queried.
Yeah, something like queried or questioned, or with so many different ways of saying the word said. We can also add the word thought as well, because that can be often anything else that we worked on, yeah?
Putting things in brackets was as well.
Yeah, I did that as a little bit of writing once myself and put words in brackets, and then they sort of quite a bit copied how I'd done it. There was a little danger it was overused at one point by some of them, but yeah, I think they do that. Do you know, geez, recently AQA have just said that, and WJC?
And WJC both said that they want to see evidence of you using parentheses, so brackets, in your work. And so it's only those that use them at least once in your writing tasks that can really be in the A-star category.
What skills did you feel you learned? Don't worry, Rach, we'll ask you again. What skills did you feel you learnt the most?
Well, I think my handwriting got better, and my spelling as well. But I think most of all, the top skill was literacy, because I learnt more ways to say said in 94 ways or something.
Okay, right. How did you feel about being in a group with just a small number of other children? Yeah?
I think it was good that it wasn't the whole year, but then wasn't 2 people, because then it would be a bit kind of weird.
Okay, right. And I'll go back again. What do you think? What was your favourite part of the course? What parts of the course did you enjoy?
I enjoyed the newspapers.
Oh yeah.
When we made the newspapers, and where we included anything you wanted to, and then you judged them. That was the best bit. Then we could show off to other people that their newspaper was better than ours, or our paper was better than yours.
Excellent, a bit of competition. Right, how did you feel about the homework side of it?
The homework was okay. Sometimes I thought there was a bit too much, but sometimes you gave us quite a lot of time to finish some good stuff that was okay with me.
And how did you feel at the end about writing a book? The fact you've written a whole book.
I felt pretty surprised with myself, because I never thought I had it in me to do that.
What did you enjoy most about the project?
I enjoyed the A to Z, when we got a load of words and did them in the alphabet. And I also enjoyed going up to Stanwell. That was good.
Okay. What did you feel you learnt the most? What things did you feel you learnt the most?
I learned how to use commas and full stops after speech marks, and I learned how to just write more.
How did you feel about writing a whole book in the end? Because you wrote a 14,000 word book, I think.
Yeah, it felt really good to write a book, but I wouldn't read it again because I don't know. I just know what's going to happen. So.
Okay, right. How did you enjoy? Did you enjoy the class? Did you enjoy being with other pupils of your similar ability?
I liked this class because I was with people who I don't usually spend time with.
Oh, good. And as a writer, how did you feel you developed? Do you have confidence as a writer, Greg?
Yeah, because I usually take, my brain goes and I write, but then when I read it back, it's it doesn't make sense at all. So I just sat down and planned it out, which I've never done before. So
giving the framework, if you like, helped, when I gave you a framework, that helped, yeah? Ah, good stuff. How much did you think it helped using the book, Machine Gunners?
Definitely a lot, because sometimes, I've just tried writing a short story, and I don't know what to do next, and it's all a bit,
over the top.
Okay. How did you feel about in class when we gave you like the 3 words, you know, 3 said words or 3 adjectives to write with? How do you think that helped?
Yeah, it really helped. One, because sometimes I didn't even know what the words were. So, like, getting the words and then someone describing them to me, then using them in a sentence made it much more sense to me than just, like, knowing the words.
Okay.
So I actually knew what the word was and I could put it.
Okay. How do you feel you developed as a writer over the year?
Yeah, I think I got a lot better with my ideas. And before, sometimes when I was, like, writing, I just went blank in the middle of my writing. But now there's more ideas going through my head and I know what's going to happen.
Okay.
So I kind of plan it all out before I write it.
Good. Okay. And how did you feel about the idea of? How did you feel at the end of writing a book, a 16,000-page book, if I may say?
Yeah, word book.
Right. Okay. So.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty proud. I was pretty proud because I mean that's everyone's dream as a young kid, but. You know, I was really proud and I never thought I would do it. But
how did you feel about the fact that in class you could write something almost instantly, you know, like we did in front of the parents when you wrote something pretty cool in literally 10 minutes?
Yeah, it was good to, like, see how quick you could just write it down, because before it took me quite a while to, like, write my ideas down. But now I've got much quicker handwriting and I can form good pieces of writing very quickly, so it's going to be quite useful in Stanwell, definitely.
So what did you feel, how about your confidence in writing? Do you feel you were able to extend your writing better?
The practice definitely helped to help me extend my writing. With all the drills that we did, and then every week we'd do the big writing and then it'd be assessed, and yeah, that definitely helped with me developing my writing skills.
Okay. How do you feel then about your confidence in coming up with ideas, for example?
Well, really, to come up with ideas, you need a strong imagination. So, being imaginative really helps.
Okay. And what did you find about, for example, I taught you to write less, you know, don't write about loads of things, just write about 1 or 2 things in detail. How did that help or not?
It helps because you can develop the writing and then you can add more backstory into it, which then makes the book better. And if you start to turn into an international author, it will help if you get 2 minor things and then you develop it into giant subplots.
Okay, that's good, yeah. What did you enjoy most about the year?
Spending time with different people that I normally didn't spend, and getting me ready for high school.
Okay, that's interesting, yeah. And lastly, is there anything stood out in particular? If you had to look back on the year, was there anything that stood back, out in particular?
Friendship.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah? Cool. What new friends did you make?
Well, I knew everybody. They were all my friends at the time.
Okay. And anything else last to say?
I like the newspapers.
Did it help having that structure there? You know, that guide to start with?
I probably would use it more next time, but I think it kind of did help. And because normally I've got like 12 started books on my computer, it really helped because it like made me keep on going. It
So,
gives me ideas.
So you got loads of stories that you've started,
Yeah.
like my daughter. Yeah. What do you think you learned the most during this year?
Well, I learned all about like the different techniques and the genres. And I got more confident with all my writing.
Okay. What did you like, for example, when I put the timed test, put a lot of pressure on you and say you got to write really quickly. Did that benefit with hindsight?
I didn't like them,
Yeah.
but I did benefit because I improved my writing and I knew that I had a time limit which I couldn't go over. And even if I finished early, I would like go over and mark it. Okay. So it definitely helped.
What do you think about me teaching you about backstory? Writing about the past of something. Like backstory.
Yeah, because people like backstory because it's important. So, I think it was a really good, and the way you taught it as well, everyone like understood the way it was, and everyone started using backstory then because we all knew it was a really good idea.
Okay. What about the things like A to Z's and, 94 different ways of saying the word said?
They helped, like they improved our vocabulary, and I remember like writing down words that I wouldn't use, but then I figured out that in my writing I was actually using them, and I was putting them into words, and I was saying said less frequently, which is always good.
Okay, good. What was the standout bit? If some of the newspapers or Stanwell, what was sitting next to Chris? What was the most enjoyable things the whole year?
Well, because some of the people in this like writing class, they were really quiet, so you don't know about them. But then you read their books and stories, and you're like, wow, they're really good. So you can compare, like you can see their writing, and then you make new friends, and then you learn tips from other people. Then
Okay.
and it just improves yourself.
Okay. What about all the self and peer marking? Very often I made someone look at your work, didn't I? And you had to look at someone else's work. What did you feel about that?
I can't mark my own work.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because either I think there's too much wrong with it or there's too little wrong with it. So I think it really helps that you give it to like other people. But it's much easier to mark other people's writing, and also you can discuss it more. And because you went over in the class on what was like right and what was good in writing, you could have more discussions and like know what's wrong with it or what's right with it, and you can put that in your writing as well.